We're about a third of the way through the season, I think, and who is overperforming, who is underperforming, who is just performing, and who is doing better or worse than last year. We're going to discuss all of that on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also want to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, so if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Got some stuff to talk about today. Obviously, the Monahan injury seems to have finally taken him out. They think he's going to be good to go for Thursday's game, but I'm not sure. Luke Delbar Blues is back on emergency, so we'll see if he gets into a game. But the bulk of what I wanted to talk about today was the Blue Jackets this year, the Blue Jackets this year versus last year, right? So we're going to look at some individual players. We're going to look at like points per game. We're going to look at average ice time. We're going to look at that kind of stuff. We're going to check in on the standings of where the Blue Jackets were 27 games into last season, and we'll go from there. But I wanted to start off by talking about the Monahan injury because obviously he missed the last 10 minutes ish of the game on Monday night, which I do think is why we saw Adam Fantilli in more of those late game situations. Like, partially I think it was because Adam Fantilli was having a really, really good night at the faceoff dot. He finished with 70% success on the faceoffs, which is insane. But also they didn't have Monahan to lean on, and they can't for all Dean tries, he cannot play Charlie Coyle every single shift. So we got to see Adam Fantilli in late game situations, and he did just fine, right? Monahan, is clearly going through something. It's been acknowledged by the coach. It's something that a lot of people have been saying. I know that I talked about it in the game preview for Monday's game. And then he shows me up by coming out and scoring 2 goals. But having a good game goal scoring wise doesn't mean he's completely healthy, right? And obviously he missed the last little bit of that game, which to me says that something got worse very suddenly, because he's playing, and this is something that I want to talk about. We talk about the who's doing better and who's doing worse, etc. Is that last season Sean Monahan averaged 19 minutes and 1 second of time on ice. This season, 18:31. So he's playing about 30 seconds less a game. If I was trying to manage an injured player's minutes, I don't know that they would still be playing that much hockey, right? That's not a massive drop in numbers for Monahan, which I think probably, again, we don't know the ins and outs of the injury. It could be an injury that's not going to get worse, but is going to require surgery at the end of the season. It could be out for however long. It could just be an injury that is not bad enough, they think, to need to take some time off to heal. I don't know that I buy that, and maybe that's just because I don't trust this medical staff based on everything else they've ever done. But the fact that he left the game says to me that it either got worse or it got so bad that he couldn't handle it, because the game wasn't out of reach, right? Which game was it? Was it the Capitals game that Zach Werenski missed the full third period of, and then obviously played in the next game? That game was out of reach, right? It was 4-1 or 4-0 going into the third period. They were like, okay, well, let's just pull Werenski now so it doesn't get worse. It wasn't that situation for Monahan, because the game was what? It was 4-2 or 3-2 going into and it was 2-2 going into the third period, excuse me. So, it's not like the game was completely out of reach for either team when Monahan got pulled, which again says to me that if he's resisted not playing so far this season, something's up there. And I understand that they expect him to play on Thursday, but frankly, I don't know that he should. So we'll see. The good news is Lucas Del Barbaloos is back. Emergency recall, so not like a real recall. The argument was that the Monsters are about to leave to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they decided that if they need him in a hurry tomorrow, better to have him drive down 71 than is it 71 that goes from Cleveland to Columbus? I'm outing myself as someone who doesn't know roads. He only has to drive the 2 hours from Cleveland to Columbus and not get on a plane from Grand Rapids, Michigan if they need him in a hurry. So I get it. I still don't know if 100% of Luca Del Barbaloos is better or worse than 60 or whatever percent of Sean Monahan. But I would seriously think about sitting him, even just sit him for a game, right? They sat Denton Matejchuk for a game a while back. The whole thing is that the Blue Jackets are deeper at center now than they've been in a long, long time, right? Like Fantilli, Monahan, Coyle, Lundestrom is an extremely solid line of center depth, right? Even if you take Monahan out, it sounds like Jenner might be ready to go. I don't think Jenner is a particularly good top six center, but you can plug him in on that third or fourth line and, have. So here's an example. Have your centers be Fantilli, put Coyle up on that second line because I think Coyle has done extremely well in his limited minutes so far this season. They're not that limited, but you know what I mean? Like his third line minutes, I think giving him second line minutes probably won't be much of a change for him, and it will give him slightly better line mates because I do think that there might be something there with Coyle and Johnson. And then put whoever you want on the other wing, like put Jenner there if you want. That might be fun. And then, you've got Luca Del Barbaloos to use. Put him in as 3C. Lundstrom in as 4C. You've got Gaunt to play at center if you really want to. Sillinger can play center if he needs to. Like, there's options, If we have to go really, really nuclear, Dmitry Voronkov and Kent Johnson ostensibly play center. It's not like the Blue Jackets of 2022 where the centers were like Boone Jenner and whatever Pierre-Luc Dubois was doing, right? He was gone by 2022, but like you get my point, right? Like they have actual real center depth, and so it does baffle me that Sean Monahan was extremely, extremely good for this team last season. He was the catalyst for this team, I think it's fair to say. Right now, he's not. And I do think, again, he was fine against the Devils. Playing an injured player in important minutes is not helping this team. I get that he wants to play. I get that he wants to battle through it. I get that that's because hockey players are insane and they think that their leg can fall off and that's fine, but as long as they get on the ice and block a shot or do something, right? Sit the man down. Sit him for this game against the Red Wings. If it's an abject disaster, if it turns out that 60% of Monahan is better than 100% of Del Barbaloos, then fine. But at a certain point, something's going to go, and I do think it's probably going to be a case of you either sit him for a couple of games now or you lose him for 3 months in the spring. Because that, to me, feels like where this is heading. Anyway, let's take a quick break, and then I want to talk about differences in Blue Jackets this year to Blue Jackets last year. So obviously we have a full season of data last year to play with, so it's not going to be like an exact one-to-one, but there are some numbers in here that I wanted to kind of unpack. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about Drip Drop. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, my energy, my mood, even my skin. And that's why I've been using Drip Drop. It is doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. It's not your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. I have been sick for a couple of days now, and I have been using Drip Drop like it is life. Quite frankly, I have been having one basically with every meal. Maybe not quite every meal, but it just makes me feel so much better. It's making it so much easier to get, the electrolytes that I need because I'm super dehydrated from being sick. And it's way better than just drinking plain water. It tastes of literally anything. It tastes really good, but it tastes like water tastes of literally anything, right? Water doesn't taste of anything. Drip Drop tastes of many things, which is great. Big fan. Helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. DripDrop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's right, dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard and keep your body and mind performing at their best with DripDrop. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about the standings first, actually, because the Blue Jackets in the standings right now are they're in a weird place, right? Like, I know that Dean Emerson just came out and said, "Oh, we think we're in a really good place," despite the fact that they're like at the bottom of the Metro. They're also 2 points out of a playoff spot, right? They've cleaned up their goal differential a tiny bit. They're now -7 instead of a -9, thanks to that 5-3 win last night. And they are significantly over 500. The East got weird again, and now every team is over 500, as opposed to the West, which only has 4 teams that are under 500. So it's weird out there in the East right now, and by weird I mean annoying. The problem was that last night, a lot of the teams above the Blue Jackets in the standings won. So I believe the Rangers won, the Islanders won, the Flyers won, the Capitals won, and the Hurricanes all won last night, which is not making it any easier. But Blue Jackets are sitting at 29 points through 26 games. They need 31 to be in a playoff spot. Obviously, they don't play for a couple of days. One of the teams, the team that they are playing, the Detroit Red Wings, is a point ahead of them, which means that they're third in the Atlantic because 2 teams that are in, so the second and third seed in the Atlantic Division right now have fewer points than both wildcard spots, which are both Metro teams, which is wild. The Atlantic is really fighting it this season. But Blue Jackets are sitting at, 26 games played. So if I flip back to around about now and see where they're sitting. So they are, or this time last season, at 26 games, we're sitting at the 6th of December. They are 11, 12, and 3 with 25 points, a .481 points percentage, a -6 in goal differential, and they were on a 3-game losing streak. So again, this season is not last season, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that because they're playing better now, that means that they're going to end up with more points later. But it is interesting to me that they just went through that truly brutal November, where they got 5 wins, 2 regulation wins, and 5 loser points. So what's that? 15 out of a possible 30 points in the month of November, which is, technically 500 hockey, but is really 5 wins and 10 losses. They are in a much better place than they were. Partly that's because there's less parity, more parity in the league this year. So the heavy hitters have got way more points. At this time last year, we just had 25 points with 3 points out of a playoff spot. This year, the Eastern Conference, the Panthers are sitting at 25 points, and they are dead last in the East, right? The Blue Jackets were sitting 7th in the Metro this point last year. So they're in a better spot than they were this time last year. Now, I do think that for them to make the playoffs, they're going to have to rely on some hot streaks, right? I don't think anyone wants to do the thing that they did last year, where they had to go on that 6-game winning streak to finish the season to even be within a chance of getting to the playoffs before it got ruined by Montreal and Carolina. But for all the doom and gloom that people are doing, and I'm not excluding myself in that doom and gloom, right? I have doomed and gloomed with the best of them on this show. They're in a better position right now than they were this time last year. Someone got really mad at me the last time I made this. Argument was like, "Oh, good, so they should aim for mediocrity and everything will be fine." I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, dude." They've got 3 more points this year than they did last year. They missed the playoffs by 2 points. I don't know if they'll stay at the same pace as last year. They are currently on a .558 points percentage right now. And last year, they finished with a 543 points percentage. The final playoff team had a 555 points percentage. So the Blue Jackets are sitting above that right now. Not much above that, but just above that, right? So as of right now, this team feels like they might be on pace to be a playoff team. I believe they're on pace for 90 points right now. If I'm just guesstimating, but it's okay. I have been extremely underwhelmed by the play the month of November. I thought they mostly played fine against the Devils. Obviously, great to get a win. Big test coming up against the Red Wings, who were just one of the recipients of a gift of 2 points by the Blue Jackets. You don't want to do that again, right? Again, the Red Wings are right there in the standings. If you can jump them, you're probably not going to get into a playoff spot just because you'll have games in hand over the teams that are in a playoff spot right now. So you played 26. The Detroit game will be 27. The Penguins and the Flyers, who have the wildcard spots right now, are sitting at 25 games played each. So, but you'll get that much closer, right? And again, it's December. There's still a lot of games left to play, right? So I'm officially putting the doom and gloom on hold for, well, many reasons, but mostly just because I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, it's wild that last year we were so optimistic for so much of the season, and this year, I don't know, it's because the expectations were so high, but they're doing better than they were last season. If they can keep up this pace, and it feels like they've been on a really uninspiring pace, right? If they can keep this pace up, probably it might be okay. It's going to be okay. We're being positive. We're not doom and glooming. It's going to be okay. Are they a playoff team? I still don't know, but honestly, for the point at which the team is at, the age of the core of the team, another narrow playoff miss is not the end of the world, right? You're supposed to build. You're not going to go from being a non-playoff team and picking 4th overall to picking 14th overall to picking, 24th overall or whatever it is over the space of 2 years. It's so incredibly rare. Let's be in the hunt for a playoff spot again. If they miss, then we'll talk about what happens if they miss. But on that note, I'm going to take another quick break, and then I want to talk a little bit about some players that are underperforming this year or potentially overperformed last year or vice versa, or, how players are doing compared to last year. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift. Receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. Keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk a little bit about points and time on ice. Those are the two things I kind of want to focus here because that I feel like is the easiest way to look at overperforming versus underperforming without getting too in the sauce about fancy stats, right? One thing I did want to notice, first of all, is that I feel like a couple of weeks ago, that's the word I'm looking for, a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of musing over like, well, Zach Werenski's not quite on his next level tear that he was on last season, right? Like, I feel like he was playing well, but over the past 2 weeks or whatever, seems to have just decided, actually, I am going to lead this team in scoring. Without me really noticing, he's got 26 points in 26 games, which is exactly a point a game. Last season, he finished with 82 points in 81 games. Right now, I don't believe he's missed a game, so he's on pace for 82 points. Obviously, you know, as we all know, the Norris Trophy doesn't go to the highest score. It doesn't go to the best defenseman. It usually goes to the highest scoring defenseman, which is probably going to be Cale Makar again, which, you know, I have my thoughts about that. But Zach Werenski was one of the backbones of this team last season, and a lot of the offense ran through him. And it's not lost on me that the team seems to be figuring out more offense as your Norris finalist heats up. I believe he had 15 points in his last 10 games or something like that. Like, he just will very quietly have like a 2 or 3 assist game. And you're thinking, oh, okay, well, he was good, but was he really like on the score sheet? And then you look and you're like, oh, he's got like 8 points in his last 3 games. Okay, I guess. He's playing a little bit less this season, which is probably for the best. On one hand, well, I have my thoughts on Zach Werenski playing less. He's playing about 15 seconds a game less. This is because Provorov is playing a lot more. Ivan Provorov played on average. I had it and then lost it. Locked on Blue Jackets bingo card for those of you who play. Ivan Provorov averaged 23-21 last season. This season, he's averaging... Where is he? I've lost him. There he is. 25-23. So over 2 minutes more average on average. Partially, I think that's because he's playing on the top pairing with Werenski, which I also think is why his underlying numbers look better than last season. I thought he was fine last season. This season, he has been a frustrating watch, but the underlying numbers say that he's doing a little bit better, which again, I do think is probably just because he's playing with Werenski, which is a whole other thing. And I personally, you know my feelings on the Werenski-Matejchuk pairing. But whatever, we don't have time to get into that now. But that I think is why Werenski is playing slightly less, not overwhelmingly less. I do think Quinn Hughes is the only defenseman in the league that plays more than Werenski does. That might have changed, but it's very, very rare that you get a defenseman that plays over 26 and a half minutes. I'm going to look this up real quick because I would like to know. So in terms of league-wide time on ice per game, Quinn Hughes is playing on average 27-25 a game. That is fully 45 seconds on average more than Zach Werenski played last season. That's hilarious. What's interesting to me is Ivan Provorov is actually 4th in the league in average ice time. So it's Quinn Hughes and then Zach Werenski. Miro Heiskanen playing exactly 26 minutes a game. Ivan Provorov playing 25-23, which I think, again, is kind of an indictment on the fact that Dean only likes 4 of the defensemen that the Blue Jackets have, which is maybe slightly worrying. I'm just going to organize the defenseman time on ice. So Werenski and Provorov obviously leading the way. Damon Severson is playing almost 20 minutes. Denton Matejchuk is playing 19:40, which is a big jump from last season, I believe. Where is he? There he is. Oh, okay. He played an average of 18 minutes last season. So he's playing about a minute and a half more, which is kind of good news because he's been excellent. Dante Fabro is significantly less. He's gone from playing almost 22 minutes to playing only 16 and a half minutes. Erica Branson obviously has kind of been a non-starter. Brendan Smith's only been here for 3 games, but has played an average of 12 minutes. Jake Christensen has played an average of 10 and a half minutes versus last season when Jake Christensen was playing an average of 12 and a half. So I don't know what's going on there. I really couldn't tell you what the impetus is for Jake Christensen getting less minutes, because I don't think he's been that bad. I don't know what the impetus for Provorov getting more minutes is, beyond the fact that probably it's just because he's playing next to Werenski. Also, he plays a lot on the penalty kill, which you know my thoughts on Provorov on the penalty kill. But like, I personally would not play Ivan Provorov for 25 and a half minutes a game. I feel like like kind of last season, and then again when they re-signed him to that stupid contract, I was like, well, maybe if they play him in an actual second pair role, his numbers will look much better. But I guess the plan is to just have Werenski carry him for the next 7 years, and again, hope for the best. But something else I want to talk about is Adam Fantilli, who has seen a jump in ice time, obviously. He was playing 17:55. Sorry, he was playing 17:29 last season. He's got about 30 seconds a game more this season. And he's also on about the same pace points-wise. So last season, he had 54 points, which was a 0.66 points per game pace. So basically a point, 2 points every 3 games, essentially. This season, he's sitting at 0.65. So he's got 17 points through 26 games. He's got 9 goals. So again, he's on pace for, I think, about 30 to 32 goals, which is great. The biggest jump for me with Adam Fantilli is actually his face-offs. And I know we talked about this briefly, but last season he was at 41% with his face-offs. This season he's jumped all the way up to 50. Face-offs has very quietly become a strength of this team. Sean Monahan at 54, Fantilli and Coyle at about 50, Boone Jenner at 56 when he's in the lineup. Lundestrom at 53, Brendan Gaunt, who obviously has only recently joined the lineup, but he's sitting at 61% as that fourth line center. So, like, all of your regular centers are doing great at faceoffs, which is really, really great to see. Like Fantilli's is the biggest jump. I don't think anyone else really improved massively. I'm just flipping through. Sillinger obviously has moved to the wing, which is probably for the best for him. But like he's doing a lot better on the wing than he was. But Adam Fantilli jumping up in face-off percentage is a really, really great sign. Because it shows growth as a player. Winning face-offs is one of the hardest things for a young center to do, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he's finally improved now that, he's got guys like Monahan and Charlie Coyle here to work with. Because really the only guy that was capable of winning the only center that was capable of winning a face-off last year was Sean Monahan, right? Arguably Boone Jenner, but I still don't consider Boone Jenner a center. So, that's beside the point here. But, having Coyle come in and winning face-offs, I think it takes a little bit of the pressure off Fantilli because he doesn't need to be a key face-off winner. And I think that has really helped him, stop gripping the stick so tight, so to speak. So for the most part, we're seeing improvements from a lot of players. I will say the one worrying player to me continues to be Kent Johnson. He's got 5 points in 25 games right now. His ice time has plummeted to 14.5 minutes, which is like 3 minutes less on average. And this season, he's a 0.2 points per game player. Last season, he finished with 0.84 points per game. Now, there's still time for him to turn it around, but it is starting to worry me because I don't think he's playing badly, but for whatever reason, Dean Everson has decided to change the way that he's utilizing players like Kent Johnson. Now, Kent Johnson is not a rush player. He is a zone entry possession player, right? He is, I have the puck and I'm going to take the puck and I'm going to do something with the puck. And I'm going to, do it very deliberately. Dean Everson's systems seem to be more, they seem to be more forecheck related, which is not a strength of Kent Johnson's. And they also seem to be a really strong rush team, which is kind of take advantage of turnover and tear the other way. And again, just kind of hope for the best, right? And neither of those really play to Kent Johnson's strengths, which is really, really frustrating because you look at the success he had last season. And I don't understand. This kind of, again, goes back to my questions about Dean Everson, which is that he seems to be changing things just for the sake of changing them. And I don't really understand how or why he's doing what he's doing. But for the most part, Kent Johnson aside, many improvements or, players that look like they're slow right now, but are actually performing at the same pace as last year, which is great because you need them to be at the same pace as last year or better. The other guy that I wanted to talk about is, where did he go? I organized the sheet and lost. Dmitry Vronkov is playing at about the same pace as last year. Cole Sillinger is playing a slightly worse points-based. So he was half point a game last year. He's on pace for 0.4 this year, but his underlying numbers have cleaned up so much last year. And I don't go in for plus minus, you know this, but because it's the number in front of me, he's gone from being a minus 11 last year to currently a plus 6. Which implies to me that his underlying numbers probably have also increased massively, which is really, really great news. Maybe he's just not a center. Maybe he is, in fact, a winger. I think, again, partially that's the Charlie Coyle effect. But, like, hey, there's honestly, that would be a not terrible second line. If you sit Monahan, put Sillinger and Johnson with Charlie Coyle as your second line, I think that would be fun. I think that would be effective. Dean Everson, I was thinking you have my number. You don't have my number. Give me a call. Comment on this YouTube video. But the point I'm making here is that, again, it goes back to the doom and gloom of we're so much worse this year, etc., etc., etc. We're not. The team is not. It's fine. They're doing slightly better in terms of like team-wide responsibility. Individual players are at about the same. They're getting a big boost from Charlie Coyle as a newcomer. Miles Wood also as a big boost. He's half a point a game right now. He's got 10 points, including 7 goals, which is very funny. What's wild to me is no one on the Blue Jackets has hit 10 goals yet. Vronkov and Fantilli have been stuck on 9 for what seems like forever. Zach Werenski also has 9, so he might actually be the first to hit 10 goals, which would be very funny. But those two newcomers are doing a lot of heavy lifting. Obviously you talk about losing James Van Riemsdyk, who was a really good influence last year. You talk about losing Justin Danforth, who was, again, pretty solid for this team. But you've replaced them, I think, with slightly better or much better in some cases. Charlie Coyle has been overwhelmingly good for this team. Now, is it possibly because he's on a hot streak? Maybe. However, he is currently, last year he had 35 points total over 83 games. He did the Sean Monahan thing of getting traded and ended up playing 83 games. So 35 points over 83 games. He's currently on 18 points through 26. He's on pace for, I think, like 60-something points, which he hit with Boston in 23-24. But he's on pace for a career high in points right now. Let's see if I can get the exact number without having to do math. Because Elite Prospect will tell me for me. But I think, as of right now, he's on pace for... where is it? Here we go. Okay, so he's on pace for 57 points, which is not quite a career high, but it would be 3 points off his career high. He hit 60 points in 23-24 and hadn't done anything close to that since the 2016-17 season when he had 56 points. Will this last? Maybe. I'm just kind of enjoying it at the minute, and he's been a real boon to the team. So, shout out to Charlie Coyle is how I'm going to finish this episode. Thank you for listening, making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Blue Sky at JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter and LO-Blue Jackets on Blue Sky. Tomorrow we're going to preview the Red Wings game, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, we'll not do the good, the bad, and the ugly because that's for post games. But we'll look at what the Red Wings are doing. We'll talk about how to beat them this time, and the answer is just don't blow a 3-goal third period lead, perhaps a concept. And we'll do some predictions as well. So that's all I've got for you today. Tune in tomorrow. Thank you once again for listening, and until then, stay locked on.